Hey everyone, Alchemist Lion here, and we're going to take a look at the customizable Stonewood and looking at it from a completed perspective. I'm not going to go over it too much in detail because I already have done that. I just want to show you what it looks like to have this completed, and at the same time, there's a few problematic areas for people that when you don't show people where and how to put ceilings down, it can run into problems. At the same time, I don't have a few amps, so I know that there's been a few questions on how to tackle those, and I just want to kind of address those where it's been a few months now, and I've gotten a lot of good and constructive feedback on this. So that's what we're going to do today, is just kind of take a look and try to flatten out as much of those wrinkles as possible for people. So let's take a look. So we're just going to take a look at how I have this completed, and we're going to start here at home base. And you'll notice I just put one high ceilings, and I kind of just, sectioned it off from here and went all the way across. Nothing too fancy here, and the scheme I went with this, you'll notice I did the whole thing all the same all the way around, and I kind of went with this whole Phoenix thing where I wanted, the brightest, most fiery traps I could get. So I've obviously went with the flame grills. I went with lights for those low walls, so you'll notice there's lights everywhere. But that's my stall. I use the lights as my stall. And then for the big walls on this, I use the darts. And then I used electric fields just because it gives the most animated light effect. And I only kept them one high. I didn't put them too high. That was just a aesthetics choice for me. And then of course the anti-airs in a single line all the way across in groups of 3, as I usually do. Now home base, I really don't have to go over this. For the pathing, the builds, it's all in that customizable build video, which I'll have linked in the description. This is more just to see the completed aspect. And when you walk through, I just followed my formula. There's not a lot to cover in home base, and as I said, I'm trying to keep these really quick. And so it's literally anywhere there was a low wall, I have lights. Anywhere there was a big wall, I put darts, aside from these front ones, which I put as speakers. And then my ceiling that I put down is all just electric fields. And yeah, that is home base. So from home base, we're going to go clockwise here, and we're going to go to that southeast main 4 amp. So we're not covering the flex ones, which can be in the south, either on the southeast, south, or southwest. We're not covering those. We're going to be covering that main quadrant first. And this one, there is a bit of an issue. Not so much with the build, just with how people would put ceilings. So right here, husks will walk, and if you put ceilings just one high right here, husks will break through and then walk across. So what I've done is I have that too high right here. Right as this ramp goes up, it's all too high, so there's no spot where they can walk across. And then of course, these walls, I still put low wall traps on. So you'll notice I stuck with my theme. I have the lights, the darts in the background, and that's enough to really deter husks from wanting to smash here, because if you'll notice, right here, I just have like a clear path. So unless you have this all trapped out and darted out as well, things here, husks will look at this as a viable option if this isn't trapped out accordingly, or if you just decided to have low ceilings here, they'll just walk across. So you really want to have that too high. I use the electric fields because it's too high here, but that's a really key part that I noticed that people are struggling with. But if you have it too high here, they're not going to want to break through here anymore, and they're going to want to go down and walk the normal route. If you want it to, you could reinforce this. You can put low walls, or even full walls. But like you notice, I haven't done that. I haven't needed to do that on mine. But that is an area that, depending on how you have it built, might need some attention. Otherwise, it's all basically the same as home base. And I'm not going to cover these any more than the main issues that I know that people struggle with. So that's that one part. The other part on this amp is going from the south side. And if you want to see the pathing and stuff, again, I'll have the link in the description to the actual build that shows the customized. This is just showing the completed process. So this south spawn will not take place. You do not have to build this if you have this most south flex amp. So you'll notice here I have the flex amp to the southeast. And so my builds are built with this flex in place. However, A lot of people pick this one. And so if you have this, this whole build isn't really needed. The main thing is you just want a little bit up here to stop strays from going by and going around. And you could do like little kill boxes like right where this spot is. And you could do like a little kill box right up in this little spot up here, because you're only going to get like a few flingers or lobbers or things like that that might try to sneak around. But we'll cover the flexes, and I'll go over a brief bit of what you can do here, but that's not what we're doing right now. We're really just looking at this south spawn now. So if you have it, like again, I have it all trapped out. You'll notice here I have a bit of an elevated ceiling just because things will spawn and walk across if you have anything right here. So I don't have anything there at all. Instead, I let them go in a little bit, and then I have the coverage where they're not going to walk on the roofs. I say this a lot: pay attention to the roofing and where they are walking, because if they can walk on the roofs, they will try to head to that direction. But again, this isn't the best trapping method. This is just showing that you can litter anything down and make it work. And this is what we did. Again, the same concept: the lights, the flame grills, the electric fields, and darts. And then where I have my anti-airs here is right at the very front in little groupings, and that's all I really need. And then you'll notice over here, this is where I have it all blocked off. And again, this block off won't be, effective if you have this, but it is very effective for what I have. And so it's all set up like this. And this is that southeast amp right here. And again, anywhere there's a low wall, I put a light. Anywhere there's a big wall, I put a dart. The floors are the flame grills, and then of course I put the ceilings. I kept it as one high as I possibly can for the aesthetics, because I like the look of it. I like it when it's all like compact and clean, and that's what I was going for. And that is the southeast amp in a nutshell. Again, if you want to see the build, check the customized build actual tutorial. This is more just a run through. So we're going to continue our clockwise journey here, and we're going to go to that southwest amp that's in that main 4 quadrant. And so for this, again, if you have the quarry amp, I call it, because it basically spawns into the quarry, you're not going to need this south spawn. And if you have this, then this area is going to be a spawn over here, and so all this block off for this south spawn you're going to have to rework. Same as if you have this south flex spawn, they're going to spawn down here, and so you're going to have to work a little bit differently to build this south spawn going up. Again, I'll cover that going into the flex amps, but it's just something to consider and something to know. If you have these alternate south spawns, you're going to have some issues with cross spawns. Half the reason I picked the amp that I did is because up here, this only gets hit from 2 directions, where these 2 amps, this very south flex and the southwest flex, they get hit from 3 sides. And so I just like to give myself as less headaches as possible, so I picked that far southeast one. But once you pick them, they're finalized, so you don't have a choice to go back on it. But it's just things to consider. It will change your spawns a bit from how this is looking, and I know that can throw some people off. But if you do have this south spawn and it's not part of the cross spawn over here, this is how I have it set up, and it's very, very similar to how I have this one set up. I took them up the right side and I blocked off that left side pretty much the exact same way. And we got all this covered here. You'll notice I do put little wall spikes just to deter things from walking over here and hitting through, but if they manage to, we even still have a kill box up here to just really thwart those efforts. And then same as over here, and then this is the main path. And again, I make sure that they're not going to walk on any ceilings. I don't put anything closer than this, and I let them go up this way. And then over here, like I said, there's nowhere where they're going to be able to walk on ceilings. Instead, they walk up and they're just being flogged with darts, flame grills, and then electric fields. And that's the south spawn. Now the west spawn. This is another area. So for this southwest amp, right over here, I see a lot of people have issues here because they'll put ceilings right here. The problem is husks see this and they don't want to walk here, so what they want to do is they want to go down here. And if you have roofs right there, what they're going to do is they're going to drop on the roof, and then they're going to walk right over all that tunneling. So the best solution is just leave it open. Leave this little L shape open. Don't put any roofs right here, and let them go through. Now, say you have a lower level and you want some spawn trapping, what you can do is just build it right here and go across this way, but just don't give them that connection point where they can walk on the roof, and just do it like that. Because then you're still hitting a bunch of them with some spawn trapping before they get through, but you're not giving them any ways to walk over top of your builds. The ceilings really get people sometimes, and I tried to stress it before, but I know that you know, there's still some issues, so I just really wanted to clarify that that's how you navigate those situations. So we go over on this side, and you'll notice that I have it all blocked off, and just anything that might walk over here is going to get hit with darts. You could put lights here if you like, or whatever trap you wanted, but I really just stuck with the sound walls at the front of all the tunnels. I was trying to go more uniform look to the builds, but this is the main part they're going to walk up. And again, it's all the same trap. I try to just stick with the theme for these builds and run with it. But any combination, the main thing is you want to have at least one sort of crowd control type trap. In this build, I used the lights, and that's what I've ran with. But that is it. That is the Southwest amp built. And those are the areas that I find that people may have issues with when it comes to these two directions that they spawn from. Now we're going to take a look at the last of the 4 quadrant pieces here. This is the Northwest amp. And this amp gets hit a whole lot. This, especially if you have the configuration that I have here, it's because it's only one direction. And when it's only one direction for an amp, that means every wave that hits this amp is getting hit from this direction. There's a few others if you have some of the cross spawns that will have that too. And so you really want to get your durability up. You really want your durability to be good when running these. If you don't have good durability, you may want to extend and add, you know, a little bit of a spawn trap thing here, but that's only if your stats are or you're having struggles, or if your stats aren't quite up to par. These one direction amps can really be a pain. That being said, it's again all the same thing here. You'll notice I do have drops here. I think that was just from before and I never really got rid of them. But they work, so I've just kind of kept it as is. Otherwise, it's all the same uniform trapping that I've used in the past with all the other amps. And so you look here, again, all the low walls lights, all the big walls were darts, except for the front here. I mean, these aren't doing anything. This is, again, all just aesthetics. I just put them up there for fun. And then I have the electric fields up too high just to keep it uniform with these ones. And then once it gets to a spot where it can be one high, I have them one high. Again, more aesthetics than actually for any sort of functionality. And I didn't even finish over here. A lot of husks don't even get up this spot, so you'll notice I didn't even put my lights up. So definitely more can be added in here. It just I haven't needed to, and now that I'm going through and doing the walkthrough after a few months, I'm realizing that that's all empty. But yeah, that is the Northwest amp. And then over here, everything's just blocked off. I put the darts there. And then the lights. And that's the Northwest amp. Now I'm going to take a look at Flex. And Flex I did a little differently. I wanted to have some fun with this. I didn't want it all just to be the same. So I went with a completely different theme here. And I really wanted to, you know, challenge things. So I went with the complete opposite. So where everything else was like Phoenix oriented or like, you know, brightness and electricity. Here I went with something way different. I went with cannonballs, coldness, and tires. So it's freeze traps, broadsides, drop traps, and then Zap-O-Maxes or dynamos. Again, fully customizable. You can pick whatever trap combination you want. This one I'm using 2 crowd control devices. So, you know, it's just, as long as you have one, that's the main thing. And I'm not even putting the drops the proper height. I put them 1 high. Just, again, to keep it clean and precise. But you'll just notice, yeah, this is deadly. They never get past here. I've never seen a husk move past this point for my stats, so it's just kind of funny that there's all this back here. And you notice I didn't even put broadsides here because it just, yeah, I was just really rushing it one stage, and then I never had to go back and adjust and add things. But if you see an empty wall, you know, put traps on it. But yeah, this is it. Down here gets really trashed after a bit, but I don't really care. I didn't even put the speakers on this part. That probably is part of it. But yeah, this pathing is just solid, and if you're fortunate enough to have this flex amp, it's really great. If you don't have this flex amp, you don't have to build this. I've had a few people ask me why they built over here when nothing spawns. It's because they didn't have this amp. You only need to build these builds if you have this amp set up. That being said, some of these ones down over here, just for wandering husks, you might want to have like little kill boxes still. But I found I only really needed them when they spawned over here and wanted to walk across. But you'll notice I just went with the speakers, the zappers and stuff for these little kill boxes along the way. But they are important. All these little side spawns, especially if you're AFKing. One thing I'll go with the flexes, I AFK all over the place on Stonewood. So I have one AFK spot over here, I have one down in the south, and I have my mat grinder that somebody on Discord actually gave the basis to. They made theirs into a butterfly. I just really wanted to set it up as a phoenix. So that's not an original design. I just liked what they were doing with it, and it's cool when you see it all connected. But yeah, so that was the east spawn. You'll notice just where I have the anti-airs and stuff. I don't litter them. I see a lot of people spamming anti-airs. Groups of 3 is all you really need. And kind of in spots where they throw. And even then, I get away with 2 sometimes, like you see 2 here and 2 over there. This one is a little challenging because I use drop traps, and you can't put anti-airs on drop traps. The programming behind them or something, it just glitches out the game way more than I want it to, so I just avoid that. So you notice anywhere there is an anti-air, there is no broadside, or no drop trap underneath it, and that's to avoid that glitchiness. To avoid that frame drop and potentially crashing your game. Now we'll go over here to the south spawn, and again, you don't need this unless you have this side, unless you have this amp. But if you do, the pathing is so deadly that they don't get through at all. I've really managed to make sure that they don't get through quickly. I wish I had this for the other ones. You can kind of look at the strategies and see how I did it. Basically, they spawn really close to this. And so the trick is to get as much damage in as much as possible. So the good trick for over on the other sides is run a wave and see how close you can build without them breaking. And then go from there. And that's kind of what I did on these ones, is I really tried to see how close can I get these without spawn breaking them, and then really just, I put these bigger walls a little further out, because again, you get some range with those big wall traps, the darts or broadsides, there's only 2, and then the rest is all just trying to like constrict their pathing to the longest possible path. That being said, you don't have to do this to win, this is what works, and you'll notice I do have that wall there to really slow them down, but it's all just drop traps, broadsides, freeze. And then this one spot where I do no damage until they get up here, and then go across that way. Again, if you want to see the actual builds, It's in the customize your build thing. There's no traps, there's no ceilings, so it's a lot easier to see. I'm just showing you the completed end result. And then over here on the side, just to show that I have some things here, because what will happen is there are a few husks that will go around up to this ramp and then try to break through this way. So this is why we have a little kill box over here, and I had all these like set up with the walls and stuff, so you'll see just how I have it built to kill everything off here. And then I really just exploited this low wall thing and put spikes like that. And then if anything managed to get around, I put darts here to go up this way. Like so. Okay, so the only other thing I can really add to this is it's really hard to show something that I don't have. I do have this amp posted with a low durability friendly build, especially this south one right here. This is the middle one of the flexes. If you have this, my floating Stonewood build has this build. It's just, would I do it completely floating? Probably not. That being said, it's a good basis, and if you see how I do these ramps and stuff, you'll kind of get an idea of what I would do in situations where husks are, you know, dropping down here. Because from that middle one, you're going to have spawns up over here. And so what you want is you want something down on this side to want them to not go around. And I find that the main way you want them to go is kind of where I have this basically opened up right here. And it would be a lot of just spawn to kind of right around this point right here where they start to drop down. Because otherwise you have a tornado that really just kills anything in this middle section. In this middle section, I would use a lot of darts because smashers and mini bosses might break them, but they can survive the tornado. And so if you have enough there, smashers and mini bosses can't really do a lot of damage to it, and really your main aspects of damage you'll want are going to be up here anyway. And you're going to want to have like some darts and stuff in the area as close to spawn as you possibly can get. I believe it's kind of right around this area to get it done. The floating style is just the easiest thing I can say to look at to find a way to make this work. And then you're going to have issues because down over on this west side, and this also is the same for the east spawn up there if you have this amp, because all this block off and stuff is going to be broken because they're going to spawn in. So you can't have this sort of setup for your south spawns depending on which flex amp you have. And so husks are going to walk up this way. So what you're going to want to do is kind of replicate what we have here going up this ramp. You're going to want to replicate that on the ramp over here that you can't block off anymore. So if you have the middle south spawn, this is going to be more open just because the spawns are going to have, you're not going to be able to put anything here. And then so when they come from the south and go up, you're just basically going to give them that path, and then you're just going to hit them with all the damage that we've done here. You're just going to kind of take this and apply it over here. And vice versa. If you have this quarry amp that's flex, because it hits from the south, the west, and the east, your main issue is going to be on this east one, because all this spawn is going to break all this up. And so you're just going to want to, again, have something here. Instead of having this all blocked off, you're going to want to try to set up some damage going up that path. And so utilizing this little row here and really just focusing on the ceilings and having spawn killing is probably going to be your best bet. And so that's why I say take a look at the floating build. It's probably the easiest way to get around things. And then as you kind of see how they're spawning and walking through, it gives you the chance to do a little bit more building where they're not going to break it from spawn. And that's really the best I can really give at this point without actually getting alt accounts and going through and really building them up, is utilizing those strategies. to make it work. And drop traps, honestly, in Stonewood are pretty much king. So if you're really, struggling drop traps, the main thing is realize they are directional. And that's one last thing. I have a drop trap video. I can also link that. But drop traps are directional. You want them, like it pushes them back. So you want that muffler to be pointing the direction that they're going to be being pushed. So I find the best way is look at the amp and place them that way, because now they're going to be pushed backwards. Where if you are facing away and facing spawn, now you're basically pushing them towards the objective, which you don't want. You're basically rushing them through your tunnels. And so that's not what you want to do. And that's kind of, yeah, that's it. You can put spikes. I like freeze traps now. Crowd control is gone. So if you have a double impact freeze trap, you can basically hold them at bay if it's double reload too. Again, durability wise, I probably wouldn't do a double reload, double impact, but there's a lot of flexibility in what you can achieve. It's just, that's the best way to address these flexes, because it is a challenge, especially if not a lot of people have builds for them. And that is Stonewood. And that's the video today. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. A tad overdue, but better late than never. So hopefully this information is helpful. Hopefully it sheds a little bit more clarity on what a completed build like this could look like. And yeah, thank you again. I appreciate your time. Have yourself a great day. I'll catch you around.